Not to know becomes a condition of acknowledgement. Not caring becomes an indication of indifference. Not caring to know becomes a condition beyond the grace of understanding. The town of Westchester, Pennsylvania is located some 20 miles from Philadelphia. Due to its proximity to the city, the rural outpost grew and prospered for much of its existence. The town has been endowed with history and heritage. African Americans have contributed to the town's development. Westchester's Black citizens have established private and public spaces which have served as affirmations of their autonomy. In recent years, the phenomenon of gentrification has decimated much of the East End. The Charles A. Melton Arts and Education Center, formerly known as the Westchester Community Center, 501 East Minor Street. The institution has served the educational, social, and recreational needs of the Black community for 100 plus years. On October the 13th, 2018, a Founders Ball was held to commemorate the years of service rendered to the community. African American educator Dr. Leslie Pinckney Hill spearheaded a group of civic-minded individuals. The group united to create a suitable place for the town's African Americans to meet. This was necessary due to the fact that African Americans living in Westchester during the Jim Crow era were prohibited from using the town's white-only facilities and institutions. In time, incorporation papers were drawn up and land was purchased on East Minor Street. During the 1920s, the forerunner to the current institution served the community at a site located at 227 East Market Street. The current institution opened their doors at their present location on September the 12th, 1934. The original building continued to serve the community until an addition was constructed in 1975. Other highlights in the institution's history included the opening of a community pool on August the 12th, 1950. The pool and pool house were demolished in 2018. The year 1994 saw the institution undergo a name change. It was at that time that the facility was renamed to honor the work of Charles A. Melton, who had served the center for decades. The core of the institution's support had traditionally been made up from the African American residents who lived in the adjacent neighborhoods. Gentrification of those neighborhoods is changing the demographics of those who use the institution. Historic St. Paul's Baptist Church, 418 to 420 East Minor Street. The work of establishing a Baptist church for Westchester's African Americans began in 1887. During the early years, men and women of faith met at various locations throughout the community. Those connected to the endeavor identified themselves as belonging to the Angel Visit Baptist Mission. The name St. Paul's Baptist Church was adopted by the group. In 1897, contractor Henry Burns built a brick church. The church burned in 1898. It was restored in 1899. An electrical storm caused damage to the church in 1936. A cornerstone for the repaired church was laid in 1938. The church was renovated in 1966. The site continued to serve the congregation until 1991, when the property was sold. 1 Haggerty Boulevard became the new home of the congregation. Today, St. Paul's Baptist Church has the largest membership of any of the historic African American churches connected to the borough. The church has a relevant presence in the community due to its progressive leadership and its many serving ministries. Bethel AME Church, 334 East Minor Street. Bethel AME Church is the oldest house of worship serving the black community in the borough. The African Methodist Episcopal denomination has its roots in colonial Philadelphia. The denomination was formally established in 1816. Those associated with the church in this location first met at a small building at Everhart's Grove. This enclave was the home of the borough's early black residents. In 1863, the church moved to the corner of Adams and Bernard Street. The current brick building exhibits a number of features that demonstrate the congregation's relative wealth at the time of the church's mid-19th century construction. These features include Romanesque arched stained glass windows and a brass altar rail. A lot for the parsonage was purchased in 1881. A parsonage was built, and today the home generates income for the church. The church at this moment in its history has a small membership. The congregation grapples with the challenges of a block in transition. Note the existence of nearby public housing and a combination of new and older homes in various states of repair surrounding the church. It is also prudent to observe the presence of an empty lot across from the church that developers wish to acquire. Our next site of interest is the Magnolia House Hotel, 300 to 302 East Minor Street. These brick buildings were once the location for the establishment owned by African-American businessman Moses G. Hepburn. Hepburn in 1882 became the first of his race to sit on borough council. The establishment exists to serve the lodging needs of the black community who were barred from white-operated facilities in the community. Despite the fact that Frederick Douglass stayed at the hotel, the fate of these important buildings remains uncertain. Tent Sisters Hall, 113 South Adams Street. This site served as the home for an antebellum African-American female mutual aid society. The Star of the West, Tent Number 6, United Order of Tents, J.R. Gidding, and Jolliffe Union was formed by black women in 1847. The local women secured their charter in 1865. During the antebellum period, the women covertly assisted fugitives escaping on the Underground Railroad. Westchester was an important stop on the Underground Railroad. At this moment in time, African American participation in this clandestine network is being recognized. A historical marker honors the work of the organization. The Tent Sisters remained viable during the last century by raising scholarship money for students who wish to pursue higher education. Many African American civic organizations are currently facing declining membership or are facing non-existence because gentrification is removing the base of support from the neighborhoods that were made strong by the healthy presence of such organizations. Our next site of interest is the Star Social Club, 212 East Market Street. The Star Social Club was founded in 1896 when a group of African American men met to establish a club where men of their race could gather privately. They organized to address the situation that existed in the community. The color line was drawn, and black men in Westchester could not join white-only clubs. Their serpentine stone building has been a landmark on East Minor Street for generations. This architectural gem has been coveted by developers for years, and the building was sold in 2019. The building was once owned by African-American businessman Harry Spriggs. Spriggs operated an establishment at this site prior to the Star Social Club attaining the property. The Royal Palace was an entertainment venue that played host to such luminaries as Count Basie, Duke Ellington, and B.B. King. The fate of the Star Social Club is an example of what can happen when communities of color do not possess links to advocates and allies that can assist them in preserving their heritage. Our last official site on the tour is Monroe, and that is located on South Balmer Street. Mud Row was a long row of two-story houses located on Balmer Street, built as housing for workers at nearby William Thompson's Brickyard. These modest homes were indicative of housing made available to Westchester's African-American working class living on the East End. The legacy of a family home located on Mud Row becomes the fictional setting for the play that bears its name. It was told to me there's a saying in the Black Women's Club movement, and I understand it in a different way. It's lifting as we climb. As we climb up different ladders, we have to be strong enough to lift somebody else up that's behind us. And if we do that collectively, then our communities are strengthened, our families are strengthened, and our institutions are strengthened.